All right, so I'm not making any baseboard right now, so I don't have any extra stock, so you're just gonna have to kind of imagine this with me. This is a 1x2, but I usually use something like a 1x8, and then I rip it down to 6.5 inches tall. That seems to be a good height for a, I have like 9 foot ceilings. So, but you can use whatever you want, but this is assuming you're using 3/4 inch stock, and you can use it however wide you want. So basically what you're going to do, you really only have to cut off two parts, which are both of these black parts, okay? You measure in 1/4 inch from the back of your baseboard, and you make a little mark here, and then you set your table saw up to cut this part off. It doesn't really matter how far down it goes, just set it up to 45. You can also do a greater angle, like a more shallow angle if you really want to, but 45 is easy. That's the name of the game here. With Craftsman stuff, it's simple angles, nothing too fancy. So again, measure 1/4 inch from the top, or sorry, from the back of your baseboard, make a mark, and then set your table saw up to cut off this part, okay? So that when you rip it through, you're gonna end up putting it down like this and pushing it through. And when you do that, the blade is going to be coming up like this and cutting this part off, and you're going to get a little triangle piece that comes off. Then what you're going to do is, from wherever this point is that it cuts off to, measure another 1/4 inch down. You can also do a 1/2 inch if you really want to. It doesn't really matter. Because this is a 3/4 inch piece, this space will be about a 1/2 inch. So if you wanted to do a 1/2 inch, it'll look proportional, but again, it doesn't really matter. Just kind of play with it and see what you like best. Okay, but you measure from this point, you go either 1/4 or a 1/2 inch down, and then you cut a 1/4 inch groove. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. You can use a router. If you have a table saw that supports a dado blade, you can do a 1/4 inch dado. That's fine too. Mine is just the 8.5 inch DeWalt saw. It doesn't support a dado. So what I did is I just took my fine finish blade and cut once, and then just kept cutting until I got to a 1/4 inch gap. If that doesn't make sense, essentially what you do is you set your table saw up to cut this first piece so that your blade is going only a 1/4 inch into the wood, and then you move your fence over about 1/8 of an inch or whatever the thickness of your blade is. Do a little bit less than that, and then cut again, and then move the fence again, and then cut again, and then again and again until you get a 1/4 inch. That's pretty much it. That's all you have to do. The only thing that you're going to need to know about using my method of multiple cuts is that unless you use a flat top or a flat tooth saw blade, you're going to get these little tiny grooves. For a baseboard, I don't think it really matters. If you're using stuff for casing, you might notice it if you're really close, but frankly, nobody's going to notice it. Sorry, my dog just saw a delivery truck go by. But essentially, all you're going to do is make these cuts, and if you do have those little grooves and it's bothering you, I tried getting some sandpaper in there just to smooth them out a little bit before I painted them. That helped a little bit. It's really not a big deal, though. If you want to get rid of it, though, use a flat top saw blade, or use a router, or use a dado stack. Any of those will work. Big recommendation I can make is that make each of your cuts on every piece of wood you're going to use all at once. So set your saw up, do this cut, and do it on every single piece, and then set up your first cut for the 1/4 inch depth, however you're going to do it. Make every single cut on every single piece, then move your saw blade in, 1/8 of an inch or whatever it is, make that cut on every single piece. Move the saw blade in 1/8 of an inch, make that cut on every single piece. That'll eliminate inconsistencies that are going to make it more difficult to install. This piece is really easy to make. This installs much easier than the crown, and the finished product on this looks really fantastic. If you're looking to do something like a casing, you can use the same profile, put this against your the interior of your window, and then put this on the outside, and it looks great. I use a 1x4. I don't even bother ripping it. And then on the outside, I actually put another little piece. You can do just a simple square. The piece that I had is a square, but then I ripped this direction on the square, so it's kind of like a square with a little angle that dips right into the corner here. I'll show a picture of it in a second, but that looks really good as well. These are all basically taken directly from the Kuiken brothers, so you know, it's not my design by any means. I don't want to take credit for it. You'll notice at the bottom of my baseboard too that I have a little piece that I made. Instead of using like quarter round or anything, I made my own little piece of shoe molding. That is a 1/4 inch stock. I think at my local lumber yard they called it lattice. So you just go get like a 1x2 lattice, rip it to whatever height you want, make it proportional to your whatever your baseboard height is, and all it is you've got your regular stock. Let me draw this real quick. So you've got your regular lattice stock. All I do is I rip from here down. I cut this part off, and then you slap this up against your baseboard. Slap this up against the bottom of your baseboard, and it's a super easy way to not only hide the gaps that are going to come at the bottom of your baseboard because your floors are probably not perfect, but also it ties in with all of the other angular elements of the design, right? So you've got this 45 degree here, and at the bottom of it you'd have a little 45 coming out, and then the straight down for your shoe molding. So it looks really, really good. If you do the extra casing like I do, where you've got a piece like this, right? So this part here is basically the baseboard, but again, as I said, you can use it for your casing. If you do this piece, this adds an extra, you know, 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch to it. When you put your baseboard on, and it's comes to here, and then you put this little extra shoe molding on, it'll actually align with this outer part of the casing. So around doors, you get this super great finished look. It just looks like everything was really well planned out. I kind of fell into it by mistake or by accident, but man, it really kind of tied the whole thing together. So this will make more sense if you actually cut these pieces and do them together. By the way, for this, I ended up using, I think I just used a 1x1 piece that I ripped down to make this, you know, 45 degree angle, so that it hit exactly where I needed it to. As long as it's about 1/4 inch taller, or as long as the height of this is the width of this, you'll get that nice finished look. So you can play around with it however you need to. Hope that helps.